Welcome back to another episode of Success Ladder. I'm your host, Paul Bryan, and today we are going to talk about one of the simplest but most profound secrets to success. Starting by showing up. We all have dreams, goals, and things we want to accomplish. But what's stopping most of us? That is a big question. The answer is very simple. We don't show up. We don't take that first step. We are waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, or for motivation to strike. But success begins the moment you decide to show up and do the work, no matter what. So that's why in this episode, I want us to explore why showing up consistently is the foundation of success, how to overcome the barriers that prevent us from showing up, and how small, consistent actions lead to long-term achievement. So whether you are struggling to start that project, getting back to the gym, or make progress in your career, or a nation struggling with struggling to stop a vice, this episode is for all of us. Now, let's begin by talking about showing up, why showing up is so powerful. When we say showing up, we are not just talking about physically being present, but about mentally and emotionally committing to the process. Woody Allen once said, 18% of success is showing up. This means that simply being present, consistently taking action is often the hardest part of success. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or ability. They fail because they give up before they even start. So before you start, you've already given up. Then the reason why showing up work is because momentum builds over time. When you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you build that momentum. The more you show up, the easier it becomes to keep going. Consistency also beats intensity. So you say consistency beats intensity. So you don't need to be perfect or intense all the time. Small but consistent action yield better results when occasionally done. When occasionally you put effort on them. Showing up opens doors. Opportunities often arise when you are present. You never know who you'll meet, what you'll learn, or how your efforts will pay off later. Let's be honest. We all have reasons for not showing up. Whether it's fear, procrastination, or feeling overwhelmed, there are plenty of excuses that keep us from starting. Perfectionism is one of them. Many people don't show up because they think they have to be perfect. They are afraid of failing or making mistakes. But here is the thing. Perfection is the enemy of progress. If you wait for everything to be perfect, you'll never start. The goal is to take imperfect action, show up as you are, and improve as you go. Secondly is lack of motivation. A lot of us wait for motivation to kick in, but motivation is often a result of action, not the cause of it. When you start showing up, even when you don't feel like it, you create momentum. That momentum leads to progress, and progress fuels motivation. So instead of waiting for motivation, focus on getting started and let the motivation follow. Fear of failure can paralyze you also. But remember, showing up isn't about always winning or succeeding. It's about learning, it's about growing, and it's about improving. Failure is part of the process. When you embrace failure as a feedback, it becomes less scary. And finally, feeling overwhelmed. When a task or goal feels too big, it's easy to become overwhelmed and do nothing about it completely. The solution to this, break it down. Don't focus on the whole mountain. Just focus on the first step. Commit to showing up for 10 minutes today. When you take small steps, the task becomes more manageable. Again, showing up is as much about discipline and habit as it is about desire. How then do we cultivate the discipline to show up consistently? Success doesn't come from massive actions, but from small, repeated habits. The key is to start small. Something that you can do consistently, even on your worst days. Because the act of showing up is more important than the quantity of time you put in. I prefer putting less but quality time, but doing it consistently. Author James Clear talks about the 2-minute rule, which states that if you are struggling to start a habit, shrink it down to something that takes 2 minutes or less. For example, if you want to start reading more, commit to reading just 1 page. If you want to meditate, start with 2 minutes. Once you've started, you'll often find that you can go much further, but the key is getting past the initial resistance, that resistance that is preventing you from starting. Habits are easier to stick to when they are part of a routine. For example, if you want to write, create a morning routine where you spend 30 minutes writing before starting your day. Establishing routines helps you show up because it eliminates the need to decide when or how you'll take action. It becomes automatic. Discipline isn't about being rigid or forcing yourself into miserable tasks. It's about making choices that align with your long-term goals. When you show up even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient, you are practicing self-discipline. This self-discipline strengthens your willpower and makes it easier to keep showing up. Stephen King is one of the most successful authors of all time, and he writes 2,000 words every single day. No matter what, he writes. He doesn't wait for inspiration. He just shows up and writes. His consistent effort has led to more than 60 published novels that he has done. Take an example of Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld famously talked about his strategy for becoming a better comedian. Don't break the chain. He committed to writing 1 joke every single day and marked an X on the calendar for every day he completed. So he writes and then he marks an X. The idea was to keep the chain going by showing up every day and not breaking the chain. The most successful athletes, talk of Cristiano Ronaldo. He doesn't just train when he feels like it. He trains every day. Their success or his success is built on consistency. Even on the days when he doesn't feel motivated, showing up is what separates elite athletes from the average and successful people from others. These stories highlight the path to success, that this path is paved with consistent effort, not occasional spurts of action. So what happens when you commit to showing up consistently? Number 1, compounding effort. When you show up day after day, your efforts start to compound. Just like saving money and earning interest, your small daily actions accumulate over time, and this leads to massive results. This compounding effect is how people achieve extraordinary success. Secondly, building trust in yourself. When you show up consistently, you build trust in yourself. You start to believe in your ability to follow through on your commitments. This self-trust leads to increased confidence and a greater sense of control over your life. Also, opportunities appear. When you are present, opportunities tend to find you. They will follow you instead of you chasing for them. People notice consistency and doors open for those who are reliable. Whether it's a new business, opportunities, promotions, or collaborations, being someone who shows up sets you apart from others. It's the unique component that successful people have. And overcoming resistance. Every time you show up, you are overcoming resistance. The internal or external forces that try to stop from progressing, that try to stop you from progressing. Each small victory over resistance makes the next step easier. Now that we've talked about the importance of showing up, how can you start today? It's very simple. Pick one area in your life where you want to make progress. It could be work, health, relationships, or personal growth. Decide that you are going to show up consistently, even when it's uncomfortable. You don't have to be perfect. You just need to be present. Remember, you don't need to do everything at once. Start with small, manageable actions that you can stick to. The most important thing is that you take that first step. Once you commit showing up, you'll start to see changes, not only in your results, but in your mindset. You'll start to realize that success is within your control. Thank you for joining me on Success Ladder. I hope this episode has inspired you to take action and to start showing up in your life. Remember, success isn't about grand gestures or huge breakthroughs. It's about showing up consistently, doing the work, and building momentum over time. If you find this episode helpful as usual, please subscribe, share it with your others, especially those someone who needs to be reminded or to remind themselves to just show up. Until next time, keep taking those small steps and watch how far they take you. Remember, the journey to success starts with showing up. My name is Paul Bryan and this is Success Ladder.